guys, my name is Rachel. I just wanted to make a video for Dysautonomia Awareness Month about my story and my journey with POTS, which is a form of dysautonomia, in hopes that I'll be able to help someone going through something similar. I started showing signs and symptoms of POTS about 2 years ago in October. So POTS stands for Postural Orthostatic Tachycardia syndrome. And basically what it means is that when somebody stands up from, a sitting or a laying down position, their heart rate increases by like a crazy amount. And it continues to increase as you stand for longer amounts of time. And what this does is it gives you symptoms like lightheadedness, dizziness, fatigue, fainting. It might just make you have this crazy urge to just sit down when you stand up for more than a minute or two. And it's different in everyone with POTS. Some people can stand for quite a long time before they feel significant symptoms, whereas other people can't stand for longer than a minute or even at all. And so it's a very debilitating condition, if you think about it, having the ability to walk and stand up as much as you want and need to taken away from you is really hard. So prior to becoming sick, I was very active. I loved exercising, doing anything outside, but my true passion was rock climbing. I would climb 5+ days a week, spend 3 to 4 hours in the gym a day, and I loved training and climbing, and it just made me happy and it made me so excited. It was just a big change for me when I started getting sick, not being able to do these things that I was so used to doing and almost relied on doing. And so basically what happened was I started feeling kind of shaky and tired and dizzy when I was climbing one week, and I had a competition that I was doing at the local climbing gym that weekend just for fun, and I was really excited about it, but I wasn't feeling well, and that day I actually woke up feeling awful. I had the worst headache. I was feeling really weird and off, but I was like, I'll go try to do the competition anyway. And so I did. I started warming up, and then not too long after starting to climb, I was just shaking and just blacking out. I remember getting tunnel vision and not really knowing what was going on. I ended up withdrawing from the competition, which was obvious, but I didn't know what was going on. I just thought that I was coming down with something. I never thought that this was something that was going to go on for a long time. I never thought that I would be sick for very long or out for very long. I was disappointed about the competition, and I was frustrated that I couldn't push through it, because you can push through pain, but you can't push through fainting and getting dizzy and stuff like that, which is too bad. But anyways, I didn't get better. As the days went on, I couldn't get out of bed. I was just near fainting or starting to faint every time I was trying to stand up and do things. And I just still thought that I was coming down with something, but after a week or two, I was like, maybe something is wrong, I'm gonna go to the doctor. And so I went to the doctor, and they did some tests, and everything came back fairly normal. I tested positive for mono again, so my doctor was like, that's it. And I was like, okay. And so I thought, I would get better, and I didn't, and we just kind of realized that I didn't have the symptoms of mono, And so I started doing research and trying to find, like what was wrong with me. And it turned out that I actually had a friend that had POTS. And so I remember talking to her and being like, whoa, that seems like exactly what I'm experiencing, and all the same symptoms and stuff like that. So I started looking it up, and I was like, yeah, this has got to be it. And I even like did the poor man's tilt table test, where you lay down for a while and take your heart rate, and then sit up and stand for a while and take your heart rate. And like my heart rate was like 70 plus beats higher when I was standing up, and I was like, it has to be POTS, And of course I wanted to get a real diagnosis and have a doctor tell me this is what was wrong. And so it took me a couple months to find a doctor that like could help me, but she pretty much diagnosed me with POTS right away. She did like a poor man's tilt table test in her office and was like, yep, this is definitely what you have. And she gave me salt and told me to drink a lot of water and said, hopefully you'll see some improvements. And so I did a lot of research on POTS, and I like felt super encouraged, because a lot of what you find when you first research POTS is, drink a lot of water and add a lot of salt and you'll be fine. But I started realizing like that wasn't the case. Like I didn't really feel better. So I continued to do like more and more research, and found out that the Mayo Clinic had a specialty center for POTS. And so my family and I kind of decided that we should go there and see what they have to say, and make sure that I don't have any other underlying conditions that are causing my POTS that we could fix more easily. And so we went to the Mayo Clinic that spring and had like more official autonomic testing, tilt table test, sweat test, a different kind of tilt table test that I don't remember what it was called. But anyways, they did a lot of testing and they confirmed my diagnosis of POTS. I had started up a medication called propranolol, which is a beta blocker, and that helped me immensely. Like I was able to be a normal-ish person again after starting that. Like I didn't feel good, but I felt like okay, and I could like do things like laundry or cooking or whatever it might have been. And I even started like exercising again, and things were okay for a couple months. And then all of a sudden like the summer hit and all the heat was like making me just like worst POTS ever symptoms, and I was like, oh no, like the beta blockers aren't doing their job anymore. I stopped exercising, stopped tolerating that, and I started to wonder if there was something else that like the Mayo Clinic could have possibly missed. And so I did more and more research, and we ended up having me get a sleep test. And this is like early fall of last year, so it had almost been a year since I had been diagnosed, or not diagnosed, started having POTS symptoms. And I tested positive for a condition called upper airway resistance syndrome. And I found this girl online that like had POTS and UARS, and once she started using CPAP therapy and like treated this condition, her POTS went away. And so I was like, this has got to be it. Like, and I was so excited and thought that, my POTS was going to get better. And so I started it, and like, I didn't see any improvements. And I like tried this for months and months, and like nothing got better. And like, my headaches started getting awful, and like I wasn't able to tolerate any kind of like POTS, even like mild POTS exercises. And so I started doing more and more research, and I found this thing called a spontaneous spinal fluid leak. And I was like watching all these videos about it and like reading about it online, and I was like convinced that I had a spinal fluid leak. And so we traveled to Duke in North Carolina and got testing for a spinal fluid leak, and it turned out that I actually had the opposite problem, which is called intracranial hypertension, which means you have very high pressure in your brain versus very low pressure, which is what a CSF leak would have been. And it turns out that the symptoms for those two things actually are very similar. And so I was really glad that we had like something concrete. There isn't a lot of information on intracranial hypertension in POTS. It's seen commonly in people who have POTS and EDS, but it's not, there's not like a lot of research that has been done on it, and so it's kind of hard to say what the treatments might look like. I wish that I could tell you that there's one easy fix or cure for POTS, but there really isn't. And don't let that scare you. That doesn't mean that you can't live a happy life and that you can't, maybe someday get back to the things that you love doing or miss doing because you're sick. But keep advocating for your health and keep searching for answers because, no doctors are perfect. You have to do some of the work yourself, especially, with these rare conditions and diseases that doctors don't always know a whole lot about. If you feel like there's an underlying condition that you might have, then keep researching and keep asking your doctors about it, and even finding new doctors if you need to. I hope that this video was helpful for some of you guys and that you're all able to find the doctors and the treatments that you need to help you feel better. And if you have any questions or comments for me, go ahead and leave them below. And if you'd like to see more videos from me, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Thanks.